What's going on, guys? Hit pause here. So after putting him in the engine and actually getting him running around, I have come to the conclusion that I don't really like his run cycle. Let's go ahead and ignore any of the other animations here. I find it to be quite boring with his legs just sticking out to the side like that, so what I want to do is attempt to make a little bit of a better motion for him. And the other thing is that his legs from forward to backwards really only travel from about right here to about right here, so it's not a huge amount of travel. And I mean, he's got a really long legs, so he could probably travel much farther in his legs. So I'm going to try adjusting this. Let's see, a copy layer, paste layer as a copy. Okay, so we're going to name this one Better Run, and hopefully we get some better settings going on here. And we'll take this one, and actually I believe that these come in as absolute, so it should pretty much overwrite. So we're going to come here and go to globals, and what we're going to do is we're going to increase his stride length some. Because as you see, if I do like 2 here, okay, so that animation is actually not. Let's solo it. Max stride length. I'm not sure if it's actually being taken into account. So we're soloing this. Global weight is 100, but the stride length doesn't seem to be having any effect. So let's see. Maybe I can't have more than one of these motion layers. I've never actually tried this, because I'm really not getting any change here. So let's say the foot platform, the lift. Let's go way high with his legs, and we're getting nothing here. So it appears, and I can't. Let's not solo that. Let's take that one. Seeing as it's the base one, let's move it up. There we go. And now it's actually taking precedence over this one. So we'll ignore the original. Interesting. It looks like... No, see, I haven't edited this. Interesting. Pull that back down to what it was. I did 400%, so I need 25% to get back down. I don't mind the height there, but let's see what happens now if we change the stride length to like 2. That's not doing anything. Okay, so it looks like we do have to override. See how he barely moves his feet now? Sideways. So let's boost his. That's unfortunate we can't just do another one. So we are already taking a longer stride, and let's just make sure that we don't lose connection. It looks like about right here, about 35 is where that leg's farthest forward. Let's push that as far as we can. We got an update right here. That's still good. Okay, and then what I want to do is add another layer that's going to be a local, and what we're going to do this is run, and we'll call this foot position, because we're going to adjust. We're just going to adjust these to be more forward, and we're going to probably have to do more adjustment. Let's get the other foot on the ground. Remember, I'm not actually animating, so doing what I'm doing here is going to affect the entire animation. it looks like we're about 4 grid points out, so let's match that like about there. Okay, so as you can see here, this one is too far out, so let's find the part of the animation where it's at its peak, and let's pull that back until it touches. We don't want to overextend the legs. Okay, that feels better already. Let's check this other foot and see if that hyperextends. No, in fact this one can come a little bit more forward. That's definitely better. Okay, now let's take this one at its rearmost point, which would be there, and let's pull that back and rotate that guy. It kind of doesn't matter which one of these axes you pick, by the way. In fact, I think I can just pick anywhere. I only have one axis that I can rotate it on anyway. So that one can be there, and let's check for any hyperextension. Here I don't like that, so we may have to actually animate this. It looks fine there because the kneecap is fairly vertical over the top, but when he brings it up forward, see how the leg is tilted? I want to swing the kneecap forward, so we're going to actually have to animate this, but we're not there yet. So let's find where this is at its rearmost point, which looks like that frame there, and we'll do the same thing here, which means we can actually take it back a little bit further since we've tilted that. So it actually, if we look at the top view, it goes back to almost the rear, so let's match that on the other leg here. About there. I'll hit perspective again, and that looks okay. And that's a much cooler looking walk cycle than having the legs just straight out like that. It was kind of dumpy. So I dig this much more already. Okay, so one of the things that we're doing, if we come back here, is on our globals, we're on a 20 frame step, which means an entire cycle takes 20 frames. And so we have essentially 4 cycles going on here. And what I kind of want to do is, so that I don't have to adjust this as much, I'm going to change it to an 80 cycle. Okay, and that just means it's going to be much slower here, but don't forget that we can speed it up inside of the engine however we want. Just remember that if it right now we had the speed of 2, it's going to have to be a speed of 8 because we need it to be 4 times faster. Okay, so this is going to help fix these things up. So now what we can do is, now that we're on that cycle, we can come here, and now we're going to actually animate this bone to be vertical, and we want to keep that at the end as well. And as we go to 40, we want that to be in a straight line as well. So from here we're a fairly straight line. Okay, and that fixes that leg pretty good, I think. So we'll do the same thing here. When that leg is forward, we want to make a straight line between the two. And with the much larger stride length, I think we're doing much better. So let's check out this leg and see how that cycle's going. So at 20, it actually looks good. At 40, it's kind of tilting in too much. So we'll lock keyframes at the start and the end, and we'll just fix it at 40. So I need to go this way. And we may need to fix it at 20 now. No, it looks like it's okay. Do I feel a little hyperextended here? I am hyperextended here. So we'll fix that by simply going to the hyperextension point, the frame where it is hyperextended, turn off auto key, and just pull it back just a little bit. Then we can go back to auto key. So that adjusts the entire animation. Alright, let's check this guy. That leg seems to be behaving a little bit better overall, I'd say. So let's give it a play and let's give it a feel. It's much slower. Now if we want to see how it would play, we can go back to 4 times here. So we can go back. Okay. Now the other thing is that that's going really fast now. That's super jittery. So what we want to do is if we go back to our motion layer here, if you remember, we put this thing on an up and down cycle. So it goes down, up, and remember when I just duped all the frames? I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to instead use a looping system. So we go to Edit, Controller, Out of Range Types, we hit Loop, okay, and now we can make that 4 times as long, because originally it was taking 10 frames. Now we'll make it take 40 frames. Okay, and that's already matching now much better with the original animation. And we'll do the same thing with all of these guys, minus the body. We'll come here and wipe all that out. Let's go ahead and extend the frames to be 4 times. Take 4 times as long. If we come here and we go to controller, there's nothing there. We do have to close this down and reopen it, which is kind of shitty, but and we set that to loop, and now they go through their cycle all the way. And we should effectively have fixed the animation. He now moves faster with a longer stride. In fact, we could probably do an even longer stride, but I'm thinking from about exactly to the side of him, because if you notice, get out of here, if you notice, the leg is pretty much sideways, and then at the middle point it's almost all the way back. It's not perfectly back because we don't want to do that. We still want it to be out to his side, but we've got it pretty close, and it's going to be pretty much the same. This one's almost all the way to the front, and then at the end of the animation comes straight out to the side, and that feels pretty good. And I like it. And I believe, let's auto key here, or turn off auto key, that if we throw sneak back on, that we get to the same thing. Now sneak, we're going to have to do a little bit more of an adjusting on the sneak, because if we solo this guy, you can see that we have the leg just blatantly passing right through his body, and that will show up quite heavily in the game. The rear legs are actually good, okay, but we need to fix the outer leg on the sneak layer. But you guys know how I'm going to do that, and I do have to stop the video right now, so hopefully you guys see how quickly and easily we can go in and adjust once we get a feel for it in the game. Because when he was running around, his legs were going, they were really going too fast, and you couldn't even really tell he was running. So now that we fixed that, we should get a much more better feel, a little bit more of a glide. Let's go ahead and re-ignore that when we play this animation. And remember, this is playing at full 4 times speed, so this will be what he's going. So he covers more distance. His legs are jamming in through the ground. That needs to be fixed. foot position. So I'm going to keyframe there. Keyframe there. Keyframe there, and there. Looks like at about 63. Just put that back up. So what I'll do is I'll go to the curve editor. Let's check the Z position. I don't really have much going on with the keys there. This should be on the ground at this point here, so let's just zero that out to raise it up. I don't know at what point I screwed that up. Remember, I'm doing this in the foot position layer here to fix those. So I just want to find a part where the foot's coming back. See, the front leg right here, that's way too low, and this one looks good here. Actually, let's zero that out, keyframe it, zero that out there. So about there. We get a little bit of a jump right here. Don't want to add too many in-betweens, but let's just see. It's good. Let's just zero that out. I'm just right-clicking these, by the way. I'm going to have to do a little bit of in-betweening here to fix it. I'm not sure what happened. In fact, let's ignore that layer. I must have moved them on the wrong axis, because they look good there. So I may need to redo it, because I might have moved some on the wrong axis. So if I don't ignore it, I thought I was only moving the lateral positions, but there's a chance, just out of curiosity, if I rotate this, does that actually ever change that position? No. So I'm not sure when that happened, actually, but it did happen. So I think I'm going to end up redoing it, but you guys get the point. It was somewhere along the line I made a mistake. I mean, I've kind of fixed it. They're okay, but they do have a little bit of up and down, but at this speed, can you really tell? You know, if I didn't warn everybody that that was happening, would anybody notice? I don't think so. So I think I'm actually probably pretty good at this point. This point right here is kind of a little stable, too stable for my tastes. So what I may do is come here and go to the hub right here and just scale up the lift a little bit. Every time you let go, by the way, it does actually reset the slider. I think that feels a little bit better. That's bouncing up and down a little bit more. Kind of keeps this point fairly even, which is okay. Want to avoid any like mechanical feel to the whole thing. doesn't feel too bad. It's definitely better. But anyways, I just wanted to illustrate how easy it is to go in and actually make adjustments, and how easy it is to break everything if you want to do that too. But again, you're safe because you just have these in separate layers. If you want to, you can just be like, hey, just get rid of that. Then he goes back to his original, which I feel is a little boring. It looked really boring in the game when he was walking around. Just no real life to it. And this one definitely feels a lot better. It's got a little bit more motion going on. We got the knees kind of going back and forth. In fact, it almost gets confused where the knees are. So you see this crazy mess of legs coming at you, you know, because this is going to be what he's going to look like for the most part in the game. This is going to be, for the most part, the view that you're going to see, unless he's trucking along from the side. So there we go. Thanks for watching, and it's Pt.7 signing off.